yesterday, Linda, Clay, and I, and I can't think of okay. Their supervisor, maintenance supervisor for highway. I interviewed 3 candidates, and one of them has accepted the position of maintenance for the highway department.
Good.
That's all I have to report.
All righty. Thank you. Agricultural and Zoning Committee, Bill Flott, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chuck, would you come on down and talk about this a little bit? We have one action item, an agreement with Deegan and Associates. They've worked for us for a long time. Committee unanimously selected them to continue that work. Chuck, you want to mention anything else about that?
Just this agreement compared to the previous agreement, if you look at it, the top 2 people that are listed for the hourly rates, Mr. Deegan and Ms. Holt, who is his prime engineer, are having $3 an hour raises. That's the only changes in that agreement compared to the past agreement, so it's a slight increase in the hourly amount for those 2 people. We're the 2 primary people who work on our issues in this county. We've been with this for many years. Questions, I'd be happy to ask any questions. I mean, they're the ones that monitor everything that comes through landfill. They, along with I, get copies of the information that goes to the EPA, so they look at all the documents as far as the gas wells and water levels and everything else that goes along with them. Not modifications to the landfill. So they look at them as I do, and they meet on a quarterly basis and communicate with us anytime we need to.
I move that we approve the agreement with Deegan and Associates.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion by Flott, second by Holt. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Yes. Harley. Yes. Weller. Oh, shoot. Runyon.
Yes.
I said shoot. I'm sorry.
Don't have any shoot.
I said shoot. Anyway. Mays. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Beatty.
Yes.
Heath. Yoder.
Yes.
Coleman. Steichen. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Ritter. Irwin. Flott.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Kestner. Peterson.
Chuck, would you like to tell us about the ZBA, how are we doing there, and more meetings scheduled?
Okay, so I'll break it down into 2 areas. Number 1, as far as the zoning text amendment in regards to the extended moratorium, they did have their public hearing in regards to that, and they have recommended at this time to allow for the county board to make that decision as far as extending the moratorium to see where everything sits when it gets back to the county board in November. So that's hearing's done. That's moving forward to you next month as originally planned. As far as them reviewing the zoning text amendment, they're at the process where they're done with pulling all the testimony and closing comments. The zoning board is at the point where they're now discussing proposals, recommendations between themselves. They had one relatively long meeting the other night in regards to that. They have another meeting planned for this coming Wednesday on July the 19th.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. in this room. I suppose if everything goes well, they could possibly be complete as far as their comments on it. They have to be formalized, have another meeting to come back to them for their final approval of the final recommendations to you and the final document in regards to that. So
When will that meeting be?
probably the last week of, it's not scheduled. Let me put it that way. I don't know if they're willing
Before our next board meeting?
to. It will be before your next board meeting. I would assume it could be the last week of this month, actually. I mean, it can be a week from that, so.
All right. Any questions for Chuck?
So you're telling us that there's a good probability that we will have this back for us by next month to vote on?
There has to be 30 days, correct, from the time that they
Well,
finish with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to have some flexibility as far as the county board meeting, or have a special county board meeting to address it. But that was brought up before. It's not a huge surprise, so it won't be before you for your regular county board meeting, if that's what you're asking. but it will be before you in November, I believe. Should be.
So
Hope so.
the sooner they get it done, the better it would be.
I understand that, so.
I know.
So you're telling me it's not going to be before us at our regularly scheduled county board meeting next month?
Considering that this is the 13th, not meeting until the 19th, I think your regular meeting on the 17th, it's not going to have 30 days in between, so it will not be ready for your regular county board meeting in November now.
Well, then I guess I would ask the chairman, is there any chance for a special meeting so we could get this done during this county board session?
It'll be under consideration. It depends, it really depends on the ZBA and if they actually finish up on the 19th or if they have to do another meeting to finish up. So I'm not going to say, I'm going to say that there's a distinct possibility, but I can't commit to a day because I don't know when they're going to be done. Right?
That's correct. We all know this is kind of an evolving situation.
That's right.
Alina?
Mark, are you talking about the moratorium, or are you talking about the
Ordinance.
the ordinance amendment?
No, I was talking about the ordinance.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. I'm going to make a personal comment here. I got an email from a county resident that sends lots of emails on lots of subjects. He indicated that the ballot question, that a no vote didn't mean that wind farms wouldn't be built in various townships of the county. In my opinion, we will never see a wind farm in Livingston County with a 4,000 setback. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving down to Finance Committee, Tim Schaefer, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Melinda, it's that time a year where for the last 8 in a row, we have re-upped on the home health care program, and it's that time of year where we would either do so or not do so, and I know you have some remarks.
Basically, the resolution's the same as what it was last year. We do charge everybody a fee except for the low-income people. We are currently serving 70 unduplicated individuals in the program. On the home service program, which is your homemaking, the housekeeping, assistance, groceries, 59% of those have incomes below $20,000, and on the home nursing side, 25% do. When you look at the age of the clients we are serving on the home service with the homemaking, 60% are age 80 or above, and on home nursing, it's 39%. So we're serving the low-income elderly, trying to keep them in their homes. Prevent nursing home placement premature.
Any questions for Melinda? Well, thank you. Whoop, go ahead. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Motion by Coleman, second.
I'll second that, sir.
By Schaefer. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Carly. Runyon.
No.
Mays. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath. Yoder.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer.
Yep.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Ritter. Gerwin.
No.
Flott.
Yes, of course.
Allen.
Yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Peterson.
Thanks.
That's right. Melinda, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. And now, if our treasurer Barb Sear is here, she has some property that she'd like us to approve getting back on the tax rolls, I believe, after a fashion.
I think in your packet you have 4 resolutions. One resolution is for the sale of a mobile home in Emmington to satisfy delinquent taxes. And there are 3 pieces of real estate, 1 in Reading Township and 2 in the city of Fairbury. All were purchased through our sealed bid auction conducted by the county trustees September 9th. There are several more parcels to finish the paperwork up on, and I'll be back in November with those, but I would appreciate your approval to sell these and complete the transaction.
Thanks. I'd so move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Schaefer, second by Coleman. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Carly. Runyon.
Yes.
Mays. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Vieti.
Yes.
Heath. Yoder.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls. Young. Ritter. Gerwin. Lot.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin.
Yes.
Peterson.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb, very much. And Mr. Chairman, it's that time of year where we put our proposed budget for the next fiscal year and proposed levies for public display after the conclusion of this meeting, and let that hang out there for roughly a month for observation and commentary. And toward that end, our finance specialist, John Clemmer, has some remarks about this year's budget.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all the committee members, the department heads, and elected officials. Lots of people spent a lot of time on this, and I appreciate all their input. There's two handouts in front of you probably tonight, the 108-page budget, the 4-page summary. I decided we'll look at the 4-page summary first. How's that? The budget's fairly similar to last year. When we went into the committee, if you see on the short handout, the goals and objectives of the committee there were three. If at all possible, hold the tax levy at the current rate for the county. Cap the limit on the Pontiac Coast Fund to $2 million, which has been the historical amount that we have used as a cap for expenses, for transfers, and direct expenses. And make prudent decisions regarding expenses to try to make sure that we're spending the money in the county in the most efficient way possible. If you take those cornerstones into account, some factors that impact, there was a slight increase in the EAV of about 2%. Our other revenue, especially the state and other reimbursement fees, are basically flat. Some are up, some are down. They're pretty much more or less a wash. Our fees and assessments are flat, although which is sort of a mixed bag. They've tended to, the rate of decrease has pretty much stabilized itself, so that is a good thing. And on the expense side, last year we had a really large increase in our health insurance premiums of about 14%. This year, as you may have known, that increase is about 2.2%. So that was a significant help on the expense side. If we flip to the second page and we look at the budget summary, we take into those factors and run numbers on our best guesstimates on history and projections in a variety of ways. You would end up with revenue of about $9,217,841. The Pontiac Host Fund would contribute $1,370,019 to the general fund. Total cap is $1,995,779. There's also capital of $343,290 and $272 for the enterprise zone. But if you add those three figures up again, we're at the $1,995,000 under our $2 million cap. The fees for services are $586,693. Those gives you total revenue $11,174,555 for $174,553,000. We always have a transfer of IMRF and FICA of $40,000. That leaves general revenue dollars for $11,134,353, and we managed to make our expenses $11,134,053. So as presented this evening on paper, you have a balanced budget, at least no projected excess revenue or expenses. I should mention there has been an increase in the contingency fund of about $60,000 due to the large number of variables going into the next fiscal year, which I think is a prudent item. The next page, the last column to the right, just summarizes the page before, but with the history to the left. And so we see the beginning balance, the revenues, the expenses that match, and I think you leave yourself with a fund balance that is appropriate, about a 3 months reserve, which again is what you would be recommended, which would be the recommended minimum probably for the county. So again, I think that fund balance is appropriate for the general fund. The last page, now we move off on the general side to the other funds. There are some items that have changed, and I wanted to highlight those. Expenses for the ETSB assessment LivCom Soil and Water and the Odell Tower have been moved from the Enterprise Zone Fund to the Pontiac Coast Fund. There also is a budget that basically because the Enterprise Zone Fund is rapidly becoming depleted. There's a budgeted amount in the Pontiac Coast Fund of $1,960,000 for a possible early retirement plan. The Building and Construction and Renovation is the new name for the construction fund. The old Live Manor Fund, I think that name more accurately reflects what we'll be doing in the future. There is a $1 million amount budgeted in that fund for the demolition of Livingston Manor. As we move down in the enterprise zone, there is a $1.5 million amount budgeted for economic development. This is a new line item. And finally, as part of our new purchasing policy and vehicle fund that we adopted and approved the board earlier in the year, there's a new vehicle fund for vehicle fuel maintenance and services. Budget amount for these expenses is about $314,000. These costs were previously in the general fund. That page highlights some of the changes that we made from years past. So I guess at this time I'd be glad to take any questions, see if I or the chair or anybody else can answer for you.
John,
Yes.
the $1.5 million budgeted for the enterprise fund for the economic development, it says this is a new line item. Is this just a new line item, or is this new money being budgeted?
This is new money. This is a new separate budget request.
This isn't what we've allotted for like the Caterpillar economic development or
No.
any of the other?
This is new, yes, sir.
This is a new.
That is correct.
John?
Yes.
When you went by departments in the county, what were the guidelines that you tried to stay within when it came to were you trying to keep costs approximately the same as last year? Were you trying to decrease?
Correct. We tried to keep the freeze non-personnel expenses. We tried to flatline, have no increase in. There were a few contractual amounts, like for the jail, for meals and some other things that we based, the contracts, but with very few exceptions, everything was flatlined. And, we may have moved items 2 up, 2 down, but at the end of the day, we wanted those to be a wash.
So every department is pretty well
That's
equal to
correct.
what they were last year.
Pretty much, right.
In their total budget.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Sure.
Continuing on that economic development, could you tell me approximately what page it is in here so I can just, is it towards the back, towards the front? I don't know.
Is on page 71, the enterprise zone. The 71 at the bottom of the page is hard to find because it's printed over another number, but it's on page 71.
Thank you.
Mr. Ingles?
Last 2 questions about the $1.5 million budgeted for economic development. I think, the committee and probably most of the board members realize, but I think it's important since we're discussing it in a public meeting with the press here. That's a budget amount. It's not money that we have plans to spend in place. The reasoning is if an opportunity come along to expend county funds for economic development where there was, and it's my term, a reasonable payback. In other words, increased jobs, increased taxes, and that sort of thing. The money would be there and would be budgeted. If that were to happen in the first month or 2 of a fiscal year, it's not very practical to think that, okay, Company A, we would love to have you in Livingston County, and yes, we will offer incentives if things are right, but you'll have to come back next year because it's not in the budget. So it's put there, but only would be spent if a project came along during next fiscal year, and I think everybody assumes it would have a reasonable return on the investment. So I don't want anybody to think that this is money that we're gonna start writing checks for
And
after the 1st of December.
And super important, Mike, is that all those come before the board.
Absolutely.
None of this isn't a departmental budget that somebody just spends this stuff.
Absolutely.
As you were exactly correct. This is an in case, this is to bolster the argument of our, principally, our GLC, EDC individual, when they're marketing the county, that we are in earnest. We're not kidding. We're in a little better competitive position than many people, and here's how we can potentially help you. And this, the hope is to put us in better standing right off the bat to get better things coming our way.
But,
And everything has to come back before the board.
Absolutely.
okay, but before the end, or by the end of the year, it may be part of, none of this may be spent,
Correct.
or part of it may be spent.
True as well.
And then the balance would go back in to the general fund, and next year's budget, we would again
Diminish.
earmark a
Right.
certain amount
Right,
for it.
correct. Yes, sir, absolutely.
So
Correct.
it's kind of a, just there
Right,
if it
yeah.
can be used.
Right, right, because, you know, a lot of people, particularly as you were, you read the paper in our state, it would be extremely difficult for most of the 102 counties in the state of Illinois to come up with anything, let alone this significant amount. So, other than the collar counties. So, again, relative to our competitors, and I think it makes sense, it puts us in a better stead to compete.
Correct.
And Tim?
Sure.
And it comes from the Building Construction and Renovation Fund, is that correct?
Yes.
So, and Bob said at the end of the year, if it wasn't spent, it would go back to the general fund, or would it go back to the Building Construction and Renovation Fund? I mean, it doesn't really,
Right, it stayed, it doesn't, right, correct.
what was the answer?
Enterprise zone fund, it would stay in the enterprise zone fund.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Gerber?
I had a question for Mr. Clemmer. Looking at page 67, I believe it is. I printed it out before, so if it's off one, I apologize. For the excess or deficit of receipts over disbursements for the Pontiac Coast Agreement, I'm looking at the page with the historic numbers there, and it looks like since 2013, this will be the first year, 2017, would be the first year in which we've budgeted to actually decrease the amount going into the fund. In other words, we're actually drawing more than we're bringing in, spending more than our expected revenues are for that fund. Is that right?
Doing in which fund, I'm sorry?
The Pontiac Coast Agreement.
That is correct.
And the reason for that is because we are drawing out the 2 million that we normally do. We're expecting to bring in about 4 million, but we're also budgeting 1.9 million for the early retirement, potentially that much. It's not necessarily going to be that much. We don't know how much. And we're drawing from the, at the same time that we're doing that, we're also drawing down on our nursing home fund to pay for the new economic development grant fund that's going to go into the enterprise zone fund. Is that right?
Right,
I'm
correct.
following the money around
Right.
because we're
And-
kind of.
And I think the largest driver probably that changes the Pontiac Coast Fund is most likely a possible one-time expense for the early retirement.
Right.
That's
And-
based on about 48 employees. We suspect that we'd have about 15 if you look at the IMRF eligibilities. But again, we need to budget that.
And the
just in
reason
case
we're
it
doing
happens.
that is because with that one-time payment, we could maybe save money down the road.
That is certainly an intent. That's correct, the payback period. Yes, ma'am.
That's a singular intent.
And the enterprise zone fund, if we don't refurbish it or refund it, it'll be down to zero because of the Caterpillar agreements, right?
That's
or
correct.
grants, I guess. Okay.
Any other questions for Jen?
Well, one thing I just wanted to highlight that I learned in the committee meeting was that, if I understood correctly, we actually, as a county, spend $31 million. Is that number correct? Our budget's 11 million because of, go ahead, explain that.
That is correct. The general division budget is about $11 million. If you add in highway, mental health, public health, and the other funds, and you have to be real careful because sometimes you have transfers across that may change that figure. But we do spend a fairly significant amount of budget. But again, the general fund's only about $11 million, and most all of the things have been paid for basically out of the landfill, historically.
Right.
Correct.
Any other questions for John?
No,
Thank you very much.
no, John, thank you so much. Yep, no, I did a nice job. With that done, I'd make a motion that, and we're not approving it, we are motioning that this budget be put on display, and the levies that support a large portion of that are also out there as well.
Motion by Schaefer, second by
Thank you,
Ritter.
sir.
Discussion.
I would-
Carolyn.
I would just like to state for the record that I will be voting against it for reasons that I've set forth in a memo that I sent to the committee members and copied the rest of the county board on. And if anyone would like a copy of that, obviously, just let me know. The reasons stated in the memo indicate there are some areas where I think further cuts could be made. And mainly, though, that I am concerned about the Economic Development Fund. The funding and no real plan for the overall outcome of that expenditure. I was much more articulate, I think, in the memo. But the bottom line is that I don't believe in a sort of case-by-case bird feeder approach. I would like to see a comprehensive plan and a lot of public input. And I pledged when I ran for county board, I pledged that I would not approve any massive expenditures of landfill money without public input for new projects and so on. For balancing the budget, I know there is really strong support for that because it helps keep the taxes, the real estate taxes low. And that concludes my comments.
Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Yes. Carly. Yes. Runyon.
No.
Mays. Holt.
Yes.
Weber. Beatty.
Yes.
Keith. Yoder.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Ritter. Gerwin. Flott.
Yes.
Allen. Bannon.
Yes.
Peterson.
Motion carries.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving down to the Administrative Committee, Marty Fannin, Chair. Tonight we have a resolution approving intergovernmental agreement for the Joint Authority Board. What this is, folks, is an agreement that basically will take the LivCom and out of the county's hands, and it will become its own entity. There are some good things for us in this, that number one, the employees that worked for 911 LivCom will be now working for this entity, this joint authority. So the IRMRF will no longer be picked up by us. Two, the services that we have provided to 911, basically for free, will now be paid for. There's some services we get from them, there's services we get from them, personnel, payroll, HRC, accounting. So, from move and rent. So in the future, we will receive funds for those that we had not been receiving beforehand. Bill, do you have anything?
HR was another one. HR, legal services are all included in what they're gonna pay for now.
Yes.
I have nothing else to add.
Mike?
So everybody understands, this is not a matter of shuffling things. The ETSB board, commonly known as the 911 board that now exists, was put in place for Livingston County. All emergency services, excuse me, are dispatched by LivCom. Senate Bill 96, which has been written into law, but we still refer to it for that, requires a certain level of consolidation of these things at a minimum on a countywide basis. So we're already there. Many counties, I think LaSalle County is one we always talk about, has like 11 answering points, kind of everybody doing their own thing. The state is trying to get rid of that duplication of services and expense. In the spirit of trying to become more efficient, we, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, brought the city of Streeter in to our dispatch center. So we kind of reached outside of the boundaries, and we're talking to other centers in surrounding areas about being a truly regional center. But in order to do that, it no longer can be tied to Livingston County. So this new joint board will have members from Livingston County and members from Streeter, and hopefully someday other things. So it's not just another unit of government for the heck of it. It's a true consolidation, hopefully that grows, that makes us more efficient and provides quality services.
Thank you, Mike. With that, I'd make a motion to approve the resolution. Second by Arbogast. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Yes. Carly. Runyon.
No.
Mays. Holt.
I don't know.
Where'd he go?
Weber. Vietti.
Yes.
Heath. Yoder.
Yes.
Coleman. Schaefer.
Yes.
Ingalls. Young.
Yes.
Ritter. Gerwin. Flock.
Yes.
Allen. Fannin.
Yes.
Pearson.
Motion carries. That's all I have. Moving on to Sheriff General License Committee, John Yoder, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one action item, and the committee approved the 2017 holiday schedule, and we sent that to this body to approve, and I will make that recommendation.
Motion by Yoder, second by Ingalls. Discussion?
Is Mike,
John, didn't I hear that the sheriff jail license is the same schedule as we had last year?
Yes.
I mean, for the
It's
days
the same
off.
schedule as everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we've had it for a couple, 3 years at least, or multiple years.
Several years.
Yeah, several.
We just have to approve it every year.
Yeah, I know that.
Gerwin?
that was my question. Do we actually have any discretion in this matter? And I just wanted people to understand we don't really have the ability to decrease the number of days.
No, this is set by the courts.
No, we could add 2 days every year.
You can. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries.
We had the regular meeting, the sheriff's personnel were there, jail personnel were there, and they gave us their reports. We approved the bills, and that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Elections, Rules, and Legislation Committee, Jack Vietti, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Our meeting was held just before the meeting tonight. We had some approvals. We had appointment to the ETSB for Mark Travis. Then we had reappointments for the Livingston County Planning Commission, Dee Woodburn and Eddie Horner. Other than that, there was no other business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Veterans Assistance Committee. John, you want to cover this?
We met, discussed the monthly report, and approved the bills. That was pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Information and Technology Committee, Vicki Allen, Chair.
Thank you. John reported that the server project is progressing. The time zone program is the last program to be transferred to the new server. Once that transfer is made, they will have consolidated the 6 servers down to 1. An advance purchase of paper was made with remaining budgeted funds within the fiscal year. And the Facebook usage was down significantly, with there being approximately 150,000 hits within the last 2.5 months compared to the 140,000 in 1 month previously. John Clemmer reported that the IT budget is in great shape for this fiscal year, and that ends my report.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki. Public Property Committee, Mike Ingles, Chair.
The only thing at the meeting, we did review results of request for proposals for what's commonly known as the Regions Bank Building on Water Street, which the county owns. And we do have a couple of offices there. We solicited proposals for leasing and or purchasing that building. Received one proposal in the amount of $100 from one of the banks to use the drive-up lanes. And after some discussion, it was concluded that the cost to the county in terms of utilities and maintenance and repairs and that sort of thing would far exceed that. So we did reject that proposal and really don't have any immediate plans to do anything with the building. We'll take that under advisement. That's the only thing really significant other than the routine monthly reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel Committee, Kathy Arbogast, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Linda Daniels is here tonight, and she's going to do the report.
Good evening, everybody. We've been kind of busy. We are continuing to work on the early retirement incentive, and we're currently analyzing the data and the cost, and we'll continue to look at that probably in November. We did get our health insurance renewal in. I was quite relieved and quite pleased. Everything I was reading, people are getting 15, 20, 25% increases, and we got a 2.2 increase. So it was, I was very relieved for that. We are only going to offer 2 plans in 2017, the $1,000 deductible and the $3,500 deductible. Both plans will have the wellness incentive, where if an employee and if they have their spouse covered, go get a wellness physical and then fill out the health assessment, it will drop their deductible down $500. So the $1,000 will go to a $500, the $3,500 will go to $3,000. The dental insurance, very, very slight increase, 0.7%. And we did add implant coverage. That was some concern or requests from some employees that implants weren't covered, so we did get that in there for a very slight increase. And the vision coverage stayed the same, no increase in premium or benefits. Open enrollment will be November 1st through the 15th. We will again do that on the Navigator. It'll be all online. It worked well last year, so we will continue with that. We also talked about the Department of Labor, the Fair Labor Standards Act. There is a change with the salary requirement to be an exempt employee. I'm working with the state's attorney's office. We have one particular position that needs to be looked at, and Seth is looking at that for us at this time. The other thing with the OSHA and the post-accident drug testing, nothing new has come out on that, so on November 1st we will have to change our policy and go forward with that. John Clemmer talked about the travel policy, and I think we reviewed that, and he can give you any more details if you need on that. And then just a sidebar, we did get the employee self-service module installed. It's up. we've got one little tweak we need to make with it so that their benefit time, their vacation and sick time shows up. But as soon as we get that worked out, which we hope to next week, it should be up and going in November for employees to be able to view their paycheck data, their W-2s. We have links already set up on it so that they can link right into the personnel manual, to the navigator. We're going to do IMRF out there. So, and it's got a message center, so if we need to send a reminder, it's open enrollment time, everything will be right there, one place for them to go. So, it's all done. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Or
Thank
Linda's
you.
report.
What?
I said that concludes my report, or Linda's report.
Livingston County Housing Authority report by Kelly Coleman.
Last month, there were some questions about the Livingston property development, the new project at St. James Place. So basically, everything I have is about that. So if you have any questions about the Housing Authority, please feel free to throw those at me afterwards. The next Housing Authority meeting will be Wednesday, November 16th at 903 West North Street, Pontiac, 1 o'clock. Public is always welcome. Question was asked, what's the breakdown for the housing at the new development? Both the leader and the radio, WJEZ, covered that recently. We just had the ribbon cutting and the open house yesterday for that. So there's, if you're looking for any information, they lots of information just today in the paper. The breakdown though, there are 3 one-bedroom apartments, 8 two-bedroom apartments, and 15 three-bedroom apartments. And there's quite a bit. I cannot pretend that I understand it well enough to present it well. The breakdown and how all that can go, the divisions. It's project-based, the assistance. So some of the assistance, the question was about Section 8. People can bring Section 8 vouchers into the program, or into the housing, into this development. But the assistance that is there stays with that apartment, so they may not take that from the apartment. That follows that through the apartment. There was also a question about veterans. Do they get a preference? And in fact, they do. There's a whole set of priorities. Here's just a sampling of them. Let's see. Pontiac residents, county residents, SRN, which is a state referral network. There's a need there, and there's a certain amount of time. I think it's 90 days. They get the highest preference. There's veterans, Americans with disabilities. I think that's the ones that I got at the beginning of the list. There's an incredible amount of information out there about how you can break these all down. So if you had any questions at all, I would call the office and ask the people who do this, because anything I say, there might be, and there's always more to it. There's several divisions, and there's different ways that things can work. So I have a basic rudimentary understanding, and I can tell you what I know based on that. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try.
Thank you, Kelly. Kathy?
I don't have any questions, but I did go to the open house yesterday.
You were on the front page of the paper.
Oh, yeah. The facility is very nice. The unit that they were showing was a 3-bedroom unit. They are very nice. They have washer and dryer in the facility, bathroom downstairs. It's just like a toilet sink, the living area, the kitchen, of course, and then upstairs 3 bedrooms and a full bath. They're very nice. They're very nice. I was pleased.
Residents are responsible for gas and electric. Water, sewage, and trash are included in the rent. Washer and dryer in every unit, central air heat, 1.5 bathrooms, blinds, very incredible, like high resistant flooring, resilient flooring, linen closets, pantries, solid surface counters, undermounted sinks. And I just heard the question, how's it being paid for? It's considered a tax incentive project. Or tax credit project, tax credit project. There's also a community room with computers. So there's actually like a computer lab there, an exercise room, a playground, off-street parking, and ADA, obviously accessible. Not yet, almost, well, not almost, over half, yes. Heading in a good direction. I know there was a big concern that we were going to be importing lots of people from Chicago. The last time I heard, there was one application, and I think the person was from Kankakee or Joliet, and actually pulled their application because they got housing somewhere else. So everybody is in, not even the entire greater Livingston or greater economic development area. I mean, it's even smaller than that we're drawing from within.
Good.
So.
Thank
Any
you, Kelly.
questions at all? If you do, please feel free to either call the Housing Authority office or let me know. I can always figure out who needs to get a question so they can get an actual answer to you.
Appreciate the follow-up. Thank you. There was no Recreation Committee meeting, so we're down to public comment. Okay, don't see anybody moving, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1 personnel matters. Motion by Young, second by Mays. Roll call, please.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Bunning. Carly. Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Weber. Fieri. Heath. Yoder. Coleman.
Yes.
Schaefer. Ingalls. Young. Ritter. Gerwin. Blott.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Peterson.